Hello.
Joseph, there he is.
How are you, Dean?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm wonderful, thanks.
Well, welcome to More Cheese, Less Whiskers.
Yeah, it's great to be here. I've listened to your podcast throughout the years. I'm glad you kind of brought it back recently. Yeah, it's wonderful. So,
We're out of reruns. Get
yes.
out of syndication. New season. You're one of
Yes.
I think the first three or four. So it's
Oh,
exciting
nice.
to be back. Yeah, having fun.
Perfect.
So you know how it all goes. We've got a whole hour here to kind of hatch evil schemes and talk about you. So
Yeah, let's do it.
yeah.
Excited.
Maybe just a quick introduction, who you are, what you do, and what you're hoping our outcome will be today.
Sure, absolutely. So I'm a chiropractor in Edmonton, Alberta. I just recently, this past year, August 2024, just purchased a practice from a doc who's been in this location for 30 years.
Mm,
So it's doing pretty good. We have massage, chiro. It's a smaller office. I just recently added physiotherapy as well.
mhm.
And yeah, just trying to take over the world, or at least our section of the city here, in terms of helping people with their, backs and their spines, joints, muscles, and nerve problems.
I love it. How long have you been doing it?
I've been a chiropractor since 2016. I became an orthopedic specialist in, I think, 2023, so just a couple of years of the specialty.
Okay. How cool. So
Mhm.
how does it work right now, your business? What's your marketing landscape, or
Yeah,
who do you
so
focus on? How do you get new clients?
right now, I would say the large majority of patients are existing patients. Again,
Mhm.
Todd's been here for 30 years. He's still working here. He's a contractor here, and he's possibly slowing down in the near future. Who knows? Kind of over the next. That's a hilarious cup, by the way, with the udders on the bottom. The,
Thanks.
the
Somebody
milking
sent that
cow.
to me.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Sorry. So yeah, most patients are coming through there, like existing clients, existing patients. And then we also do, people will find new patients. They'll find us typically online. They'll search chiropractor or massage or
Mhm.
physio. And then so I'm doing a little bit of pay-per-click on that, just on the Google end of things. And I've also been doing some email marketing to, pass patients, people that we have their contact information. So I'll
Mhm.
send out like a weekly newsletter. And I've just done one of these so far, just like a in-person event that was on back pain and sciatica. We had a handful of
Mhm.
people show up, and I thought that went pretty well. So I was planning on doing kind of like a monthly. Whoop, I'd like to do more frequent than that once we get kind of systems in place, just on different conditions, if you will. So I was
Mhm.
thinking, spring's coming along, change of footwear, so foot pain, plantar fasciitis, and those kind of things.
You can help with that? Or is that
Yeah. So any,
under your physio thing? Is that it?
no,
Or
that no,
no?
I can help with any spine, joint, muscle, or nerve problem in the body. So a lot of people typically think chiro, they'll think back or neck if they're having more of a what they think to be a muscle problem or a foot problem, they might go to a podiatrist or sometimes physio. But yeah, I treat those problems all the time. The scope of practice from my perspective of chiro and physio is it's pretty much overlapped. It's just kind of we do things slightly different, and it's more what people think they need, if you will.
Mhm. Yeah. What method of chiropractic, or what school of chiropractic are you?
So I guess the evidence-based side, if you want to call it that, certainly more the, if you're, we try to help people get out of pain. Obviously, that's the main reason people come in.
Mhm.
And then a selection of those people like to come in for, wellness or maintenance care just to help
Mhm.
optimize how their body's doing. I would say most people come in due to some type of pain or problem, though.
Mm.
I know you've had a couple chiropractors on before, and they do more like I haven't got into the wellness coaching or the life coaching or anything like that. I know some people have,
Mhm.
but I don't currently do that.
Or the applied kinesiology or whatever.
Yeah, I
Okay.
don't. Yeah, no, I don't do
No.
AK. I'm more into like orthopedics and musculoskeletal injuries.
Okay. And so when we look at this, if I were to put your business on the examination table here, and we're dividing it up into before, during, and after, your
Right.
self-diagnosis is that most of the business is after unit, meaning most of the people that you see are already existing patients that come back again.
Yeah. So our during is good. Our after is pretty good. It can always be improved upon. But yeah,
Mhm.
certainly more the after unit for sure. And then people either had a good experience and they come back, or they're into the wellness kind of care, or they
Mhm.
feel good and then they hurt themselves a few years later and then they come back and we help them through those injuries. Yeah, certainly the before unit is certainly, I'll say, lacking. I've been trying
Mhm.
to, improve upon those, but I'm being pulled in other directions with the change in ownership of the practice, I'll say. So I
Mhm.
haven't been able to put as much time as I want into
Mhm. You're running
developing
the
those systems.
business of this
Yeah, I'm
stuff.
trying to run it rather than the marketing stuff, and I want
I
to put more
got it.
time into it, but it's very challenging.
So if we look at it, one of the things that I like to do is, think about your after unit and look at the metrics, right, for each of them. And I always like to create like a metric based on what you're talking about. So I was like this concept of, well, let's call it spines under management. That if somebody's in your world, that they're, that you've got these spines under management, your goal is to keep everything in alignment and keep everything functioning and pain-free and optimized. And sounds like your ideal would be if people, how often should people, if they would get out of the way and just do what you think would be the best thing for them, should they be coming once a
Right,
month, once a week,
right.
once a quarter?
So this,
What's the,
yeah, so this is the impossible question to answer because it depends on the
yeah,
person,
yeah,
right? So let's take, the ideal person, so 45-year-old mother who's, fit or trying to get fit again. She's dealing
yeah,
with, maybe reoccurring issues. Probably for
yeah,
her, probably once a month kind of thing. And then I get other people, they come every 3 months. And then, you have like a 11-year-old or a baby even. I like to see them maybe every 6 months or so, if just
mhm,
to make sure, like a wellness checkup, if you will, in an ideal world. You
mhm.
get someone who's, riddled with arthritis and they're 97, they're probably going to have to come in a little more frequently, but usually it's kind of once a month or that's kind
Yeah.
of a good mark there.
And so when you look at it, that do you do anything to kind of orchestrate that and keep people on track with that? Or do people pretty much dictate are they left up to their own device? If I'm one of your spines under management,
Right. So Dean,
what's the
yes.
cadence of what I'm hearing from you? How often are you communicating with me and in what way?
Right. So if Dean, we have your spine under management, I think I recall on a previous podcast, you get massages pretty frequently. Is
I
that
do,
right?
yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like once a week, every 2 weeks.
Yeah, but probably on average three a month. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Mhm.
So in your case, I'd probably want to see you, every 3 to 4 weeks. And the way I'll usually communicate that with someone, let's pretend you're a new patient and you
Mhm.
had an acute crisis. Your back
Mhm.
was bothering you, and we've
I
gotten
just
it to the.
had that. I'll talk to you about that in a second. But
Okay.
yeah,
Yes.
I just had a situation.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we'd probably be seeing you pretty frequently to get you out of pain and giving you some
Mhm.
resources to help you out. Once you're kind of feeling really good, I usually like to back that off slowly. So let's say you're pain free today, but last week you
Mhm.
were dying. I'd say, okay, well, it's been a week since I saw you. Let's see you in 2 weeks because sometimes
Mhm.
these things rebound. But once we got you to that point where everything was pretty stable,
Mhm.
I usually say things something along this line. Dean, this isn't like an acute episode. It wasn't because of something you did. You didn't just lift up a tire and things happened. It happened out of
Mhm.
nowhere. So it's likely your life situation that is causing this, the stuff that you do day to day. And unless that's going to change, this is likely going to be a reoccurring thing. That's why you need to be doing those stretches and exercises that we talked about. So, a couple options moving forward in terms of how we can help. One, sometimes people just like to come in when they're dying. I don't suggest that.
Mhm.
But if you want to do that, I'm okay with that. And we'll see you
Mhm.
hopefully no time soon because hopefully you're doing really well. What I
Mhm.
would recommend is, based on my past experience and all that, dealing with people in a similar situation, if we were to see you somewhat regularly, now I don't know what that frequency is yet, but if we were
Yeah.
to see you regularly, we can keep things under control, keep you feeling well, keep things moving well. So this is less likely to be a reoccurring issue for you, especially since you've had this like 15 times in the past 5 years and you're
Right.
very sedentary and go into it.
Mhm.
And I'll tell people, it's up to you what you want to do.
Mhm.
I'm here to help you reach your goals. So I would suggest the latter. So I'd suggest like a month, for example. Or if you want to just come in when things are really bad, again, you can
Mhm.
do that as well. It'd be something like that. So it's kind of like a strong suggestion, but people they'll make their own choices. So I don't want to
So
be
you're
like,
saying that in the windup of that somebody may come and see you a few times in a row to get something back into order, and then you have that conversation with
yes,
them. Once I leave, then, like
right.
outside of your office, how often am I hearing from you and in what way?
So I'll usually send out those emails like just a weekly, sometimes every 2 weeks, just to stay top of mind. So as long as you didn't
Yeah.
unsubscribe, you'll get those. I've been sending out just a phone call or a text every, like if you haven't been in within 3 months,
Yeah.
I'll reach out to you and be like, hey, Dean, just checking in. It's been a minute. I just want to make sure everything's still doing, that you're still doing well. And then
Okay.
that's all I've done so far. I know I need to do it more frequently, but that's what I've been doing so far.
So one of the things, like how one of the diagnostics that you look at is, you know, measuring the what we call return on relationship in your after unit. So if you take how many spines under management would you have?
Look here. Last year, there was 5,631 patients.
That were on the
Or
books or
sorry,
came into
sorry,
the
I'm just having a hard time understanding this. It says
it's
total
okay.
patients, unique patients, about just under 1,000 unique patients, I guess, that we've seen last year. Now it's been here, this prac's been here for 30 years, so there's, several thousand. Some of those people move on, they pass away,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
And that's a number is that what we look at is the total number, like there, you're still the incumbent or we're as soon as somebody comes in and you touch their spine,
yes,
I want you to adopt that position. That spine is under management now that it's up to you. You are, as far as you know, the incumbent provider of chiropractic
okay,
services, right, for them. And so what we want to measure kind of on an annual basis, a rolling 12 months, is your return on relationship. And so we would measure that by counting the total number of spines under management, like historically,
yeah,
divided by the number of people that came in to see you at some point in the last 12 months. That's what would be the minimum requirement to be uh,
an
an
active,
active
I see.
patient. I would say it'd be one annual visit, at least one time, right?
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, I don't have that number, sorry.
No, and most people don't. I'm just sharing it as a way that what would be to
Yeah,
establish your baseline and to say
yeah,
this is what it is. It's a knowable number. You're just
yeah,
not tracking it. So
yeah,
it's a
100%.
knowable number that those things, and from return on relationship, you can measure some key things. You can measure that as a percentage, so if you have the total number of patients that you have patient records, I see all those files behind you there.
Yeah,
Uh,
there's a lot.
yeah, you have
There's
all of
way
those.
more.
Right?
There's way more.
Yeah, but I see all of those. I'm assuming those are all digitized by now, or
These ones aren't. There's a ton that are, and we're in
uh,
process of that. There's a, yes, we're in process.
I got it. Yeah, okay. So let's say that it's 5,000 total spines under management in the last 3 to 5 years, say,
That's a
that.
fair guess. That's probably under, but yeah, that's fair.
Okay. So that would mean that right now your current return on relationship, as far as just the top level, would be 20%,
Yeah.
right? In that 1,000 of them have come at least once in the last rolling 12 months.
Yes.
So the goal would be, of course, then to raise that number, right? So that's the metric that you're kind of looking directionally. We want to get that up. That
Right.
if every percentage that you raise that is going to have a increase in revenue, right?
100%.
A number that we look at. Then one of the other things that another aspect that you might look at from that return on relationship is the total value, the monetary, the revenue that generated from those from your after unit, excluding new patients that come for the first time. These are only people that are returning patients, right? Because
Right.
we're going to
Okay.
separate the before unit from that.
Okay.
So if you look at that, then you can determine sort of what the annual, revenue per relationship is. That if you look at the things that you had 1,000 unique patients who came in the last 12 months and they generated, $100,000, that would be, $100 per patient,
Right.
that's what you kind of want to look at, that number, right? And we use a
Okay.
similar number in the before unit, to look at your unconverted prospects. But this idea of, right now your after unit is yielding at some number, we'll call it 20% of your total spines under management are active in the last 12 months, and they generated X dollars, which means that the revenue per active patient is Y dollars, right? That you
Right.
can know that. So that way, knowing what you can actually, what you can afford to invest in nurturing that relationship with your after unit.
Right. No, that
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense.
Is there any physical mailing that I would get as a patient, or is it all digital by email,
Right.
text, and phone?
Right now it's all digital.
Mhm.
I've done it before where I would mail them stuff.
Yeah.
Usually, like if you're a new patient, I'd send you a welcome kind of letter, like, hey, you're dealing with a disc bulge, looking forward to taking
Yeah.
care of you. It should take this long.
Mhm.
You made the right choice kind of thing, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. And then I haven't been doing that lately. Just, I just haven't. I used to
And
do
that would be a during unit function, right?
yeah,
And so I'll talk about that in a second, but the after unit there, if it's outside of that, I'm not really getting anything in the
uh,
mail from you.
no, I
Postcard,
used
otherwise, nothing.
No, no, none of those. I used to do a newsletter. I stopped doing those. I just wasn't seeing. I did it for about like 18 months at a previous place. I just wasn't seeing the return there. And I think our rates are like buck 10 now per stamp. So yeah, so
Yeah, so you'd have to look at that, right, and see, is the
yeah,
juice worth the squeeze, right? The other thing that's the multiplier of it is the referrals, right? Like if we look at our profit activators, the after unit is the last two, the profit activator 7, which is nurture lifetime relationships with the
yeah.
people, and then profit activator 8 is orchestrate referrals. So do you get referrals from patients?
Yeah, we certainly get referrals. Yeah, I'd say about 20 to 30% of our new patients are referrals,
Mhm.
and they usually want like a specific person, which is great.
Mhm.
One of the things I've been trying to help orchestrate that a little bit is again those workshops, send anyone that you know dealing with X problem.
Yes.
Um, I also like to give people this book I wrote called Ouch. Uh,
Ouch.
so kind of goes head to toe things we can help out with and how that looks like. And then usually, let's say you come in and we diagnose you with a disc problem. I'll go
Yeah.
through here and be like, oh yeah, this is this problem. Kind of describes it in some detail if you're interested. And yeah, and then I you tell people to obviously, if you're having anyone complain of something or just give them the book and be like, here, here's the guy who, we trust with our health.
Mm.
Hopefully find this, hopeful. And then they
Mm.
can take that to the next stage if they find it's useful and want some help.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah, that's
that's about it.
fantastic.
Yeah,
Part
that's
of
that's about
the
it though.
thing about orchestrating referrals is to recognize, like, what are the high probability conversations that are going to happen, that are going to lead to a conversation that could turn into a referral for you.
Right.
And we talk about the idea that all referrals happen as a result of conversation. And in those conversations, what has to happen is that they have to notice that the conversation is about something that you could help them with. It could about chiropractic, or we'll go through and list some of those, the high probability conversations. They have to notice that it's about that. They have to think about you, And then they have to introduce you to the person that they had the conversation with. All three of those things have to happen for a referral to take place. Now,
Right.
most of the time, many times it'll happen that they'll hear a conversation about, oh, my back's killing me, or I twisted my back, or whatever, anything that could be sort of like overtly clear that this is something acute onset that you could help them with, or it's a chronic complaint that if they knew that this is something that you could help them with, maybe even in the periphery, right? Like
Yeah.
headaches, or like you said, plantar fasciitis, or any of
100%.
the ouch factor things that you can help people with. So they may hear the conversation and notice that's what it's about, but that may not immediately bring a thought about you. Like if
Right.
somebody
Yeah.
came to see you because they twisted their back, they were in spasm, and you helped them get out of it, and then they haven't been back in 6 months or whatever, that then somebody's talking about plantar fasciitis, they're probably not going to think about you.
I
That's
guarantee
not
you they're not. Yeah.
that's
Guarantee you they're not.
exactly right, right?
Yeah.
And then even if they do think about you, the third step is the most important, is that you get connected with that person. But often what'll happen is that they'll tell people about you. Oh, you should call Dr. Tanti. That's but that would be maybe the extent of it. And they think that they've done a good job. They think they've
Right.
done the thing. And then you run into them at the grocery store 90 days later, and they say, "Oh, did my friend Jason ever come in to see you?"
I
You
get
know,
that
I,
all the time.
yeah. And oh, I tell people about you.
All the time. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So what we need to do is retrain them to not tell people about you, but to tell you about the people that they're having these conversations with.
Okay.
And so I'll tell you what happens is that the number one reason that people refer anybody is because it raises their status in the herd. That we want to be the bearer or bringer of good things to the
Yeah.
people in our world, right? There's some element of higher status. If you have a problem and I solve that for you, in that moment, I'm higher status than you because you came to me with this problem and I helped you because
Yeah. You know the stuff. You're the guy to go to. You
I
want to be
turned
that
on the
person.
solution for it. Right.
Hmm.
So when you realize that's why people refer, it's not as a favor to you. It's not that they're doing you a favor by telling people about you. That opens up the freedom to then put people in positions where they get to be the hero, where they can be
Right.
the star, right? So I'll tell you, I always use this as an example because and this is what happened to me 2 weeks ago, is I occasionally, I've had it happen maybe 4 or 5 times over the last 20 years. I've had a situation where I've grabbed something and my back went into spasm, and it's terrible. I mean, it's like every nerve in your body's attached to it.
Well, back pain's
Feels
terrible. It's extremely debilitating. Shoulder problem.
Yeah,
I broke my arm last year.
uh,
That sucked, but like I could still move. If you have back pain, like
yeah.
it can take you an hour to get out of bed.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So I and there's that's so I went to the chiropractor who I hadn't been in years, but it was something, because this was a situation that now I needed to get some relief from. But anyway, and I get massages all the time. So I was having lunch with a friend, Josh, he arrived at the restaurant. He's kind of walking gingerly, and it was, he sat down and I'm like, what's going on? He said, oh man, I twisted my back in the shower just reaching for the shampoo and my back went into spasm.
Yeah.
And I had just left Sandy, my massage therapist, and I said, "Oh man, I had that same thing happen. Let me see if Sandy can see you." And so I called her up and I said, "Hey, do you have time to see my friend Josh this afternoon?" He did that same thing I did. His back's in spasm, and she's like, "Yeah, of course I can fit him in." So I handed her handed him the phone and he got connected and he went to see her. And then, in that moment, my status is high with both of them because
Right.
I introduced him. I got him an inside track to go see Sandy today. And Sandy's because I introduced her to a nice recurring, I don't know if you call them patients, but whatever, a
Client,
client,
massage client. Yeah.
massage client. Yeah, yeah. And so that's kind of a double win that I'm getting those things, but I didn't do it because there was any reward for me from Sandy. It wasn't, like I often say, like, imagine I did it. It actually feels best because I wasn't getting anything from Sandy. That it was a pure, I wanted Josh to get the help, and I was able to facilitate that for him, right? But imagine if Josh had walked into Sandy's office and there's a big poster, leaderboard on the thing, and it's the referral contest, and there's Dean at the top of the thing, it would feel like he was a bounty in a way,
Yeah.
that
100%.
right? And it changes the purity of the intention of why I was referring her to him.
Exactly.
So, but that kind of scenario, that's exactly how those referrals happen, right? Like I noticed that the conversation was about his twisted back. I immediately thought of Sandy and I connected the two of them. That's how a referral actually takes place, right?
Right.
So we want to, every single time that happens, let's say, you've got 1,000 active spines under management that are happening, that are there right now. And let's say that on average, people are having 3 conversations a day, right?
Okay.
With their inner circle with other people, super conservative. So they're having 100 conversations a month, basically. There are 100,000 conversations happening among your spines under management when you think about it like that.
Yeah.
And the odds are some number much greater than zero of those conversations are going to be about something that you could help somebody with, either
Well, 20,
overtly or on a peripheral basis, right?
yeah, well, I mean, 20% of people have back pain at any point in time. So
Mhm.
it's at least 20%.
Yeah.
And that's just the
And
back.
so,
So not
yeah.
the other
So if
things.
there's a way to kind of get those things, if we were to say, like, what would be the top, 3 to 5 presenting situations that
Sure.
people come to you for?
So back pain, number one, neck pain,
Mhm,
number two, sciatica, or what they think is sciatica.
mhm. I don't even know what that is. What is sciatica?
Sciatica just means leg pain. So it could be due to a nerve, could be referred pain. It could be due to like a muscle issue in your actual leg. So I've
Like
had
hip
people,
hip pain and stuff, or
no, it
different?
means leg pain. It means
Mhm.
leg pain. That's why people say sciatica. I've had people point to their shoulder and say sciatica.
Okay.
So, you know,
Okay. Right.
so that was three. And then it kind of varies between either headaches, shoulders, hips, and knees.
And shoulders, knees, and toes.
Exactly. All
That's
so
true.
any yeah, and we treat like, any spine, joint, or muscle problem. So or nerve problem.
Yeah.
So literally the whole body, but those are kind of the main ones people come in with.
Yeah. So I love that. So any one of those is very specific. Someone with shoulder pain is not the same as someone with back pain, or,
100%.
yeah. So even if you think about, like, the idea of programming these patients for referrals, I would say, like, if we start out that if we could plant a chip in the ears of your 1,000 active spines under management, and we could listen in on all those 100,000 conversations that are going on in the next 30 days, and we could get alerted every time one of these trigger words happens, that somebody's talking about back pain or neck pain or sciatica, headaches, shoulders, hips, and knees. If any of those conversations get triggered, we're able to kind of silently whisper in the ears of the people to plant a subconscious thought of how to turn that into a referral for
Do
you.
you have a thing to do that? Because that would be magical. Like we'd be
Yeah,
so busy
absolutely.
if a fraction of those were actually talked
Yeah,
about and referred, and a fraction of those came
yeah,
over, we'd be so busy. It'd be great. And people would
we
be feeling
do.
better.
I do something called the world's most interesting postcard. And what we do with that is we kind of plant these referral seeds for people, that this is one of like something like this, where on one side is the, just very interesting trivia kind of facts and stuff. And then on the back, we have like a post-it note type of thing where we program these. Here's the kind of referral programming that we use. We would say, hey, Joseph, just a quick note in case you hear someone talking about hip pain this month or that their hips are bothering them. It's really common that here's, some of the reasons somebody might have hip pain. But if you do hear someone, give me a call or text me, and I'll get you our hip pain relief program or report or whatever. If you have a specific thing, our
Right.
hip, the instant hip pain relief report to give them. And
Yeah.
that's kind of so now they're looking, and that's always the thing where we use that same pattern language of just a quick note in case you hear someone talking about insert high probability conversation here. Could be hip pain, could be sciatica, could be neck pain, headaches, whatever it is, then some amplifying of why that might be happening. And if they hear that, give me a call or text me, and I'll get you insert high value information that you can give to somebody
Okay.
to give to them. So now they're not selling you. They're not saying, oh, they're not just telling people, oh, you need to call Dr.
Right.
Tanti. They're saying they are getting something for you, right? Like
Right.
most of the time, do you have a text system in your phone system, like
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
office? Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you give somebody that text number, if one of the things in your during unit that you get people to do is to put your hotline in their phone, Dr. Tanti, and that the you're telling them then now they've got it in their phone. So they're not having to look up the phone number. They've got it there.
Yeah. It's in their contacts.
Yes, and that way, when you do this, if you get them to text you now, then you've got their phone in your system so that when they text you, you'll know it's them. Now it all sets it up so that if somebody is like with me with Josh, is when he came with the back pain, if I hadn't just come from Sandy, but I got a postcard from you that in the back of my mind, it's planted there. Just a quick note in case you hear someone talking about their back being in spasm. Here's,
Right.
there's 6 things you can do that relieves 80% of the pain in 20 minutes or whatever,
Or
some
whatever it is. Yes.
stretches. Yeah, whatever the thing is, something that's going to imply a rapid, relief for this.
Right.
That now I'm going to remember, because he said that the way our brains work is we're constantly sorting the information that we have on file to bring it forward in case we're going to bring it up in the conversation. Like if so if we're talking about movies or we're talking about books or we're talking about anything, your brain is scanning. It's almost like the prep team is going, okay, we're talking about books. Who's got something? And then
Right.
you're bringing up, I just read this book. I just read this one. Oh, I saw this series. And that's all happening in background. And then when it's your turn to talk, you're going to say, oh, I just read this. And now you're like contributing to the conversation. So
Right.
we're kind of priming that so that when they hear those conversations, we're planting the seed that they're going to hear it.
Right.
And then all of a sudden they do hear it and they have something to reply with, you know? So now they're able to
Yeah.
say, oh, I just saw my chiropractor sent this, I can get you this protocol or these stretches or this thing to do
That'll
to
help your
relieve the
problem.
pain.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me text them, as a matter of fact. So you're texting them right there in the moment.
Right.
And that's coming into your office or coming into wherever, whoever's manning the phone system there. They
Yeah.
see that it was, you know, Jason or whoever the patient is, and they're able to reply back and say, perfect, you know, or call or whatever, you know, to be able
Yeah.
to connect and say, hey, yeah, I can send that over. Who is this for? Do you want me to send it right to them? Do you want to introduce us by text? Do you want me to send it to you to give to them?
Right.
All of that, but now you know that there's a person who has a person, and you're greatly improving the number of people that have that, you know, that are doing that. So I
Yeah, that's a
think
great
it's one
idea.
of those things that if you look at do you track the lifetime value of patients or annual value? What was,
So for a new patient, I don't have the specifics, but for a new patient, they're generally coming in about 5 times or so in that year for most cases. So it's usually ends up around like 450, $500. Now, if they turn into more of like a lifetime patient, which is what we always want, it's, much
mhm,
higher than that. Of course,
mhm,
Todd's been seeing some people for 30 years. So I mean, that
yeah,
person's the lifetime value is, thousands and thousands of
mhm,
dollars. And it's great to create those relationships with people. That's
mhm.
really where it's all about.
So, and that's kind of where you know what the annual value of someone is, because that's what that return on relationship number is going to tell you, right? You're
Right.
going to look at, of all the active patients, they brought in this much revenue. So our active patient value is this much, our revenue per active patient.
Yeah, I'm gonna figure that out, and that
Yeah.
sounds like a good number to track for sure.
So that becomes then that's how you measure the return on that, right? And that's why I created this postcard rather than a newsletter. Like I try and look for what's the way of getting somebody, you know, getting the impact there. Like you could probably, it's much less expensive to send a postcard than to send a newsletter,
Yeah.
but you get all the checkbox that you would get with a newsletter, except you're
Right.
also orchestrating referrals, right? And
Right.
on a, you know, deep track meta psychology of what we're doing with those interesting facts is we're priming up that they're going to have some interesting thing to contribute to conversations, and that's going to anchor them to, this is where I got that. So if they're like, one of the things that we did on one of the postcards was thing about water rings, watermarks on wood furniture, that if you have a water ring on it, if you put mayonnaise on the water ring, it'll bring out the oils in the wood, and the ring will disappear, right? So Julie
Oh,
Matthews,
oh,
this was one of the first postcards that we mailed out. So our realtor, Julie, was sending this to her clients, and one of her clients owns the nail salon where Julie goes to get her nails done. But she walks in, and the nail salon lady comes up and gives her a big hug and said, "You just saved me $650." And she
yeah.
said, "Well, how did I do that?" And she said, "Well, I got your yellow postcard and it said if I have a water ring to put mayonnaise on it, I did it and it took it away. I was going to have to spend $650 to get it resurfaced, refinished." And
Right.
it was like, you know, such a great example of that we have a great appetite for interesting things, right? Like we like
Oh, for
to
sure.
have little things to contribute. But the same way, if she ever heard anybody else talking about having a water ring. Oh, I got this. I found out about this. I had one and I put mayonnaise on it and it went away. Now she's passing it on and she's getting that status.
Right, exactly. Oh,
So
where'd you hear that? Oh, from my realtor, she's great. And yeah,
exactly, right? Like you're reinforcing that when
right,
that postcard comes, you're going to look at it because it's giving you dopamine, and it's giving you serotonin when they give you when you get the acknowledgement of having added value to somebody, right? Raising your status. That's a low-hanging fruit thing. And you may be able to do an experiment where, you budget, maybe you budget $2,000 or $3,000 to test it with a sample size of 250 of your active patients compared to the rest of them and see referral what the return on relationship is with those 250 people compared to the group that's not getting the postcard before you dive in to sending
right.
it to all 1,000 of the active patients.
Okay, that's a great idea. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's pretty low cost, and I think that could worth testing, definitely.
Yeah. Now, and what are you doing in the before unit then? If you look at how,
So yeah, so I'm doing the, like I said, the pay-per-click. That's pretty, like, that's just, someone looking up chiropractor or physio or some of the services we offer. So those are okay. It's definitely bringing some people in. I'm doing some of those workshops, so I'll throw up or I'm planning on putting up some social ads and social media to try to attract people to those workshops. The past one that I did, I just did through the email, through our past patient list, and got some people re-engaged. So that's kind of where I thought would be the best place to start there, just to re-engage people. Lowest lower hanging fruit there. And that's pretty much it. So not a ton.
how far, if we were to plot on a map
So
your
yeah.
existing spines under management, how far reaching, like how far do people travel
Yeah.
to?
So I recently moved before I purchased this office. So I still have some patients that travel from across the city, which is maybe 20 minutes. But I would say 70, last I looked, 70% of our clients and patients come within our postal code. So within
Yeah,
10 minutes for sure, but within 5 minutes.
that's
That's
the
but
thing. So that's part of it is that you want to be 5 mile famous.
yeah,
That within a 5 mile radius, anybody who's got back pain, that that the top of mind chiropractor is you. That's your goal, right? So there's a no, you don't have to have like global reach. You need to
no.
be famous in that 5 mile radius that anybody that has any kind of issue is the thing. So one of the things that we've been doing, is definitely books or downloads, PDFs, anything, digital downloads that have a title that is immediately calling out to that person. So we work with a podiatrist in Milwaukee, and we did a series of books about the big five things that people come. Plantar fasciitis was one of them. That we
Right.
did a book called the Plantar Fasciitis Solution, and we would get leads for people who respond because they have plantar fasciitis or they're sitting
Right.
beside someone who has plantar fasciitis, right? And yeah, so that level of engagement, that's kind of what we're looking for, is that anybody that raises their hand, because you have what we call invisible prospects. I always use chiropractors as an example, like to explain the difference between visible prospects and invisible prospects. And I say to people, like, if your target audience is chiropractors, you have visible prospects because you're very findable. You're licensed.
Yes.
You're in the yellow pages or online. You have an active practice,
There's a
right?
list of us. Yeah, you can find
There's a
all the
list of you. I
chiropractors.
can point right to you and say you're the one. Then there is, for chiropractors, you have invisible prospects because you can't get a list of the people who twisted their back this morning in the shower or who woke up with plantar fasciitis pain, or walking around with chronic neck pain or shoulder pain. You can't get a list of those people, but you know that they're all within that 5 mile radius, that many of the people in that 5 mile radius are going to have back pain. You said 25% of people. So if you look at everything on Facebook, if you're not doing any Facebook, Instagram advertising, that's all done on a CPM basis, right? So
Yeah.
so the success of the ad is going to depend on the prospect density per 1,000 people. So if you show your ad to 1,000 prospects, that's how the ads are sold. It's going to cost you $30 to $50 per 1,000 people to show that thing. So 3 to 5 cents to show an ad in somebody's newsfeed. And it's all on the phone now. I mean, it's
Yeah.
98% of it is mobile.
Yeah.
So you get one screen of their thing. And if they're scrolling and along comes a book called the Plantar Fasciitis Solution, and you're one of the people who has plantar fasciitis, or your spouse has it, or your parent has it, whatever it is, somebody relative to you, you
Mhm.
recognize that would be welcome information in your sphere, right?
100%.
So you download that. Now you have turned an invisible prospect into a self-proclaimed, a self-identified visible prospect for you, because somebody who, if they're going to download a book on the plantar fasciitis solution, odds are that they have it, right?
Yeah, they're
And
not going to read that for fun. Yeah.
right, exactly. And so same thing with neck. I would be on a constant rotation of those, right? Of neck pain, back pain, knee pain, hip pain. And because anybody is only interested or attracted to their own pain. They're not, if they don't have headaches, they're not going to download the headache solution.
Yeah, they don't care. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So you look at those as individual lead generators, you know?
Do you find the downloadable ones more effective, or like a hard copy and then mail it to people?
But I like both, because I
Yeah.
like to get the minimum viable is that it'd be more valuable. Right now, you've got that there's a fixed number of people that live in that 5 mile bubble,
Yeah.
right? If you on Facebook, you put that in there, it'll tell you how many people that is, right? How many people are in that audience. And then it's one level up if you can get them to identify themselves and say, I've got plantar fasciitis, and they give you their name and their email and maybe their phone number, right? Those three things, that's valuable enough. But now, out of those, some number of those are going to be what we call 5-star prospects. Those are going to be the ones that they're willing to engage in a dialogue, they're friendly and cooperative, they know what they want, they know when they want it, and they'd like you to help them. The whole
Right.
thing is to now put those people through a process that identifies the 5-star prospects and makes it super easy for them to get started. So maybe they come in for a consultation, or a free exam, or whatever the right thing to do. I imagine all of it is to come on in and see
Right.
you.
Yeah.
Right.
That is the ideal. Yeah, that's the end result. We want them in
Yeah.
so we can
Yeah.
work on them and help them out.
And if they're not able to come in right now, or they want to, we want to at least give them, well, until then, at least try this, or here's some things that might help you, or help you
Right.
understand what's actually going on and why.
Yeah. I
Just
actually had to
treat it.
call. Actually, I did this with someone, but just kind of coincidentally, I guess they called and they wanted their father-in-law to possibly get help because they have a shoulder problem due to the arthritis.
Mhm.
So I was like, so I had some material again, the book, and then also wrote another magazine on thriving with arthritis. So I was like, hey, can I get your email or can I get your address and I'll send it to you in
Mhm.
the mail? And she was like, oh, okay. She's kind of
Mhm.
blown away by that. So we'll see what
Yeah.
happens with
And
that.
that's part of the thing, is once they're willing to engage, and they're friendly and cooperative, then by all means, it's a great idea to send them something physical. Now you've got their mailing address and
Right.
you've got somebody who lives in the 5 mile bubble and has identified as plantar fasciitis interested and is willing to engage and gave you their physical address. Now that's a much higher prospect that over the next 6 months that you're going to be able to get somebody to come in. Maybe they might try something else, or they might try and just tough it out, or that hoping it'll go away, or they might try something to get some temporary relief, but you know, within the first 100 days, it's going to come back or become enough of a problem that they start
Usually,
to
yeah.
see other people that you talk about that have had relief because of working with you, that they're
Right.
going to want to come in, you know?
Yeah. 100%. Okay, cool.
And that gets you famous, in that 5 miles. There were
Yeah.
these
I just,
guys from Milwaukee. I think they were maybe from Michigan, but they were a couple of guys. They billed themselves as the most famous physiotherapists on the internet. They just did these little videos and talk about all these. They just shot videos that talk about all the different things and what's going on and how they treat them and things you can do to get some relief kind
right.
of thing.
Yeah, like educational type videos. Okay, great. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. This is a lot to work with and a lot to work to for me to do,
Yeah,
which would be great. I already have some things on some of these topics, but awesome.
I think that's good. Well, what's your takeaway? How did it all land? What's your understanding of what your action steps are here?
Well, start tracking return on relationship for sure. That's again, we have the numbers. I just gotta put them together. So
Hmm.
that shouldn't be very challenging. I think I'm gonna certainly test out the what'd you call it? The most incredible postcard, was it?
The world's
Most
most interesting postcard.
world's most
Yeah,
interesting. Yeah. Test
yeah.
that out.
You can get,
Um,
I have a free book that you can get about that called at gettingreferrals.com.
I write this down.
Mm-hmm.
Refer com. And then just like the lead magnets on specific topics. So like condition
Mm-hmm.
type reports. I find sometimes I just get too in the weeds with trying to make all these things in terms
Yeah.
of like what do you call it? The curse of knowledge. So I try to
Mm-hmm.
describe it like the itty gritty details and,
Mm-hmm.
and people are like, I don't want to know. I just want to get better. So
Yeah. That it's very simple, right? Like if you just were to create like you could have like PDF downloads. It doesn't have to be a whole book about it, but if you had like your best 10 minutes of advice for somebody with plantar fasciitis to maybe explain what's going on, maybe show that if you just talked about it,
right.
answered the most the questions that they probably have about it, identified what's the thing and describe what the solution is, and then just got that transcribed and illustrated, create a cover for it. That would be all you need version one to get that done,
Okay. V1 is better than none, right?
That's exactly right.
All right, cool. I think I'll do that. And then yeah, you're right. I think I know I know all the information. It's just putting it down into a digestible format for people.
Hmm.
I find challenging. So I like the video and then transcribe it, make that into a book,
Hmm.
and then video as a bonus possibly.
I like that. Exactly. That's exactly right.
Perfect.
Awesome. Well, that went fast,
Yeah,
but
that flew by.
lots of good insight per minute here for you. I love it.
Awesome.
Okay. I will
Appreciate your help,
will
team.
I'll send you a notice when it should be up pretty soon, so you'll be famous. And where do people go if they want to connect with you? What's your
Sure,
practice?
we're at Riverbend Chiropractic and Wellness.com. It's a crazy long URL. I need to change it, but that's kind of what I inherited. Or you can look me up, Dr. Joe Tanti, TANTI .com, and that should take you to our webpage as well.
Perfect. I love it.
All
All
right.
right, man.
Thanks a lot, Dean.
Thanks. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.